Picture this. It's a quiet Tuesday afternoon. You're making a cup of coffee, maybe getting ready to sit down and watch the news when your phone buzzes. You glance at the screen and your stomach drops. The message says your bank account has been locked due to suspicious activity. There's a number to call, there's a link to click, and there's a deadline, because apparently you only have 30 minutes to fix this before your account is frozen for good. Your heart starts racing. Your retirement money, your Social Security deposits, your savings, everything you've worked your whole life for suddenly feels like it's hanging by a thread. So what do? If you're like thousands of people every single month, you panic. And panic is exactly what the person who sent that message was counting on. Because here's the truth, and I want you to really sit with this for a second. In most cases like this, your bank never locked your account at all. What actually happened is that a scammer, sitting halfway across the world or maybe just a few states away, sent you a fake message designed to look so real, so official, so urgent, that your brain skips right past logic and jumps straight into fear. And fear is the one thing that makes smart, careful, capable people make mistakes they would never normally make. Stick with me for the next few minutes, because by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly how these fake lock alerts work. You're going to know the tiny details scammers always get wrong. And you're going to know the one simple habit that can protect you for the rest of your life. And trust me, there's a twist near the end of this video about how these scams are evolving in 2026 that you really do not want to miss. Before we go any further, if you're new here, welcome to Retiree's Guide. This channel is built for one reason and one reason only, to help you protect your money, your identity, and your peace of mind during your retirement years. We don't do scare tactics for the sake of scaring you. We do straight talk, real information, and practical steps you can actually use. So if that sounds like something you want more of, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now before we continue. Because we publish new videos regularly that could genuinely save you or someone you love from losing thousands of dollars. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about why this particular scam, the fake account lock alert, has become one of the most common tricks criminals use against people over 60. It's not because older adults are careless, it's actually the opposite. Most seniors are cautious with their money, and scammers know that. So instead of trying to trick you into an obviously greedy scheme like a lottery you never entered, they flip the script. They pretend to be protecting you. They pretend your bank already caught something wrong, and now they're just here to help you fix it. That single twist, pretending to be on your side instead of trying to take advantage of you, is what makes this scam so dangerous. It uses your own good judgment, your own instinct to protect your finances against you. According to recent government fraud reports, imposter scams involving banks, government agencies, and well-known companies have exploded over the last several years. And older adults are disproportionately the ones losing the most money. Federal regulators have reported that Americans 60 and older lost billions of dollars to fraud in the most recent reporting year alone, with losses tied to impersonation scams increasing dramatically compared to just a few years earlier. What's even more alarming is the size of individual losses. Reports involving people losing over $100,000 in a single scam have grown several times over in just a handful of years. These aren't small mistakes. These are life savings, retirement funds, and money set aside for grandchildren, medical bills, and years of careful planning, all gone in a single phone call, a single text message, or a single click on a fake website. And because so many people feel embarrassed after being scammed, a huge number of cases never even get reported, which means the real numbers are almost certainly much higher than what shows up in official statistics. Now here's something important I want you to understand, because it's the foundation of everything else in this video. Real banks operate a certain way, and once you understand that way, fake messages start to look obviously wrong. Almost like a movie prop that seemed convincing from a distance but falls apart the moment you look closely. Your actual bank will never text or email you a link asking you to log in and verify your identity out of the blue, especially not with a countdown clock attached to it. Your actual bank will never call you and ask you to read back a one-time verification code that just got sent to your phone. And your actual bank will never ask you to move your money into a new account, buy gift cards, or send cash to a courier in order to keep your funds safe. If any message or phone call asks you to do any of those things, you are not talking to your bank. You are talking to a criminal. Let's slow down and walk through exactly how this scam usually unfolds, step by step, because seeing the whole pattern laid out makes it so much easier to recognize in real life. It typically starts with what looks like an ordinary notification. Maybe it's a text message that says something like, "We've detected unusual activity on your account. Please verify your identity immediately to avoid suspension." Maybe it's an email with your bank's logo, their colors, even their customer service phone number printed right at the bottom, looking completely legitimate. Or maybe it's a phone call, and this is where things get even more convincing, because the voice on the other end sounds calm, professional, and reassuring, almost like they're doing you a favor by catching this so quickly. In every version of this scam, there are 3 ingredients that never change: And once you learn to spot these three things, you will be able to catch almost any version of this trick, no matter how it's dressed up. The first ingredient is urgency. You'll be told you have a very short window of time to act, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes by the end of the business day. This isn't a coincidence. Scammers create tight deadlines on purpose because urgency shuts down careful thinking. And when you feel like the clock is ticking, your brain moves into fight or flight mode, and that is exactly when people make decisions they would never make if they had time to slow down and think it through. The second ingredient is fear, mixed with a strange kind of relief. The message scares you by saying your account is locked or compromised, but then immediately offers a way out. Click this link, call this number, confirm your identity, and everything will be fixed right away. That combination of fear followed by an easy solution is incredibly powerful. It's the same emotional trick used in old-fashioned door-to-door scams, except now it's happening through a screen, and it's happening at a scale of millions of messages sent out every single day. The third ingredient is a request for information or access that a real bank would never actually need in that way. This might be your online banking username and password. It might be a verification code that was just texted to your phone, which, by the way, if anyone ever asks you to read that code out loud, that is an enormous red flag, because that code exists specifically to prove that you are the only person who should have access to your account. It might be your social security number, your debit card number, or your card security code. Sometimes the scammer doesn't even ask for information directly. Instead, they walk you through installing a piece of remote access software, telling you it will help fix the problem, when really it gives them a direct window into your computer and everything on it. Now let's talk about the specific channels these scams travel through, because in 2026, they are more sophisticated and more convincing than ever before. Text message scams, sometimes called smishing, are incredibly common because text messages feel personal and urgent in a way that emails sometimes don't. These messages often use official sounding language and may even include a fake case number or reference number to make them seem more legitimate. The link inside the message usually leads to a fake website that looks nearly identical to your real bank's login page, sometimes down to the exact same logo, color scheme, and layout, because scammers can simply copy the appearance of a real website in a matter of minutes using tools that are easily available online. Email scams work in a similar way, but often include more detail, because there's more room to write a longer, more convincing story. These emails might reference a specific transaction, a specific dollar amount, or even claim that someone tried to make a large purchase using your card in another state or another country. The goal is to make the threat feel specific and real, rather than vague and generic, because specific details make people panic faster and think more slowly. Phone call scams have become especially advanced because of how easily technology can now be used to fake a legitimate-looking phone number on your caller ID, a trick called spoofing. You might see your actual bank's name and real customer service number pop up on your screen, and it will look completely authentic, but the person calling has nothing to do with your bank at all. Some of these callers are also now using artificial intelligence to sound more natural, more conversational, and even to mimic customer service scripts almost word for word, making it harder than ever to tell the difference between a real representative and a criminal reading from a script. And then there are the fake websites themselves, which deserve special attention because this is often where the real damage happens. Once you click that link from the text or email, you're taken to a page that looks exactly like your bank's real login screen. You type in your username and password, thinking you're simply verifying your identity. And just like that, the scammer now has your actual login credentials. Some of these fake sites go even further, asking for your card number, your expiration date, your security code, and even asking you to answer your security questions, the exact same ones your real bank would use to verify you, which means the scammer can now potentially get into your real account whenever they want. I know this all sounds overwhelming, and I want to pause here for a moment because the goal of this video is not to make you afraid of your phone or afraid of your email. The goal is to give you the tools to recognize these situations calmly and confidently, the same way you'd recognize a pushy salesman at your front door or a too good to be true offer in the mail. And once you know the pattern, these scams actually become much easier to spot than you might think. So let's talk about the warning signs, the specific details that give these fake messages away almost every single time. First, look closely at the sender's email address or phone number, not just the name displayed on your screen. Scammers can make the display name say your bank, but the actual email address underneath is often a strange jumble of letters and numbers or a domain that has nothing to do with your bank at all. Second, pay attention to the greeting. Real banks that already have your information on file will usually address you by your actual name. Scam messages very often use generic greetings like Dear Customer or Dear Valued Client because they're sending the exact same message to thousands of people at once and have no idea who you actually are. Third, watch out for spelling and grammar that feels slightly off. It doesn't have to be full of obvious errors anymore because scammers have gotten much better at this over the years, but sometimes you'll still notice small awkward phrases, unusual capitalization, or sentence structures that just don't sound like something a professional institution would send. Fourth, and this one is incredibly important, hover over any link before you click it, or better yet, don't click it at all. On a computer, you can usually hold your mouse over a link without clicking, and the real destination web address will pop up. If that address looks strange, misspelled, or completely unrelated to your bank's actual website, that is your answer right there. Fifth, remember that legitimate financial institutions will never pressure you to act within minutes. They understand that verifying your identity, updating your information, or resolving a security concern sometimes takes a phone call, sometimes takes a visit to a branch, and that is perfectly normal. Real urgency in the financial world almost never comes with a countdown timer attached to a text message. And sixth, be especially suspicious of any request to pay something in gift cards, cryptocurrency, or wire transfers in order to unlock your account or reverse a supposed fraudulent charge. No legitimate bank operates this way, ever, under any circumstances. Now, let's talk about what you should actually do if you receive one of these messages, because knowing the warning signs is only half the battle. The other half is having a simple, repeatable habit that protects you every single time, without you having to think too hard about it in the moment. Here is the single most important rule in this entire video, so I want you to really lock this one in. Never use the phone number, the link, or the contact information provided inside the suspicious message itself. Instead, put that message down completely. Pick up the phone card in your wallet or open a bank statement you already have, and use the customer service number printed there. The one you know for certain is real because you've used it before or because it came from an official source you trust. When you call that verified number, simply explain that you received a message claiming your account was locked and you want to check if there's any truth to it. In the vast majority of cases, the representative will tell you your account is perfectly fine and that message was indeed a scam. If, in the rare case, there actually is a real issue with your account, the bank's own representative will walk you through the legitimate steps to resolve it, and you'll know you're speaking with the real institution because you're the one who dialed the number, not the scammer. This same principle applies to your online banking as well. Instead of clicking any link sent to you, simply open a new browser window yourself and type in your bank's website address directly, the same way you always have. Or better yet, use your bank's official mobile app if you have one already installed and set up. Logging in this way, completely independent of whatever message you received, is one of the safest habits you can build because it completely bypasses any fake link a scammer might be hoping you'll click. I also want to take a moment to walk you through a realistic example of how this can play out, because sometimes hearing a story makes all of this stick much better than just hearing rules. Imagine a retired school teacher named Robert, 68 years old, who receives a text message one morning claiming his checking account has been locked due to a suspicious $2,000 withdrawal attempt in another state. The message includes a link and tells him he has 20 minutes to confirm his identity or the account will remain frozen for 72 hours. Robert feels his chest tighten immediately because that account is where his monthly pension deposit lands, and it's also linked to the automatic payment for his wife's medication. In that rush of panic, he almost clicks the link right there on the spot. But then he remembers something he heard, that real banks don't operate on 20-minute deadlines sent through text messages. So instead of clicking anything, he sets the phone down, walks to his kitchen drawer, pulls out a recent bank statement, and calls the customer service number printed at the bottom. The same number he's called plenty of times before for completely normal reasons. Within a few minutes, a real representative confirms exactly what you'd expect. There is no suspicious withdrawal. There is no locked account. The message Robert received was a scam, one of hundreds sent out that same morning to random phone numbers, hoping that just a small percentage of people would panic and click without thinking. Robert didn't lose a single dollar, not because he's some kind of technology expert, but because he had one simple habit: verify independently and never trust the contact information provided inside the suspicious message itself. Now imagine a different version of that same story where instead of pausing, Robert clicks the link right away because he's scared about his wife's medication payment. He lands on a page that looks exactly like his real bank's website, types in his username and password to verify his identity, just like the message asked. Within minutes, without him ever realizing it, that information is now in the hands of criminals who can log into his real account and, depending on what other information he provided, potentially drain those funds before he even realizes anything happened. That is the difference one simple habit can make, and it's why I wanted to walk you through both versions of this story so clearly. Let's also talk briefly about what to do if you think you may have already fallen for a scam like this, because I don't want anyone watching this video to feel too embarrassed to act quickly if it's already happened. Time matters enormously in situations like this. If you clicked a link and entered your banking information, call your bank immediately using a verified number and let them know your account information may have been compromised. They can help freeze the account, issue new card numbers, and monitor for unusual activity. If you gave out a one-time verification code, do the same thing right away, because that code may have already been used to authorize a transaction or a change to your account. If you're at all unsure whether money has already moved, ask your bank to review recent transactions with you on the call. And if you believe you've lost money to a scam, it's also worth reporting it to the Federal Trade Commission and to your local police department, because reporting helps authorities track these criminal networks and can sometimes even help with recovering funds, especially the sooner it's reported. I also want to gently say this: if you've already fallen for something like this in the past, please don't carry shame about it. These scams are specifically engineered by professional criminal organizations who study human psychology. They use enormously sophisticated tools to make their messages convincing. Falling for a well-designed scam doesn't mean you're careless or foolish. It means you're human, and it happened to you the same way it has happened to smart, careful people from every walk of life. Every income level and every profession, including doctors, lawyers, teachers, and even people who worked in banking themselves for decades. Now here's something I promised you earlier in this video: a look at how these fake bank alert scams are evolving in 2026. The tricks scammers use today look noticeably different from just a couple of years ago. Fraud prevention experts have noted that criminals are increasingly using artificial intelligence tools. They generate far more convincing fake messages, fake websites, and even fake voices that can closely mimic the tone and pacing of a real customer service call. Some scam operations now build entire fake customer service phone trees, complete with hold music and automated menus. They do this just to make the experience feel more legitimate before a live scammer ever gets on the line. Social media has also become a growing entry point for these kinds of scams. Fraudulent alerts and messages sometimes appear as sponsored posts or direct messages designed to look like they're coming from a legitimate financial institution. What all of this really tells us is that visual polish and professional-sounding language are no longer reliable indicators of legitimacy. In years past, you might have been told to simply look for typos or bad grammar to spot a scam, but that advice alone isn't nearly enough protection anymore. The real, lasting defense isn't about spotting a poorly designed fake message. It's about building the unshakable habit of never trusting contact information provided inside an unexpected message. No matter how convincing it looks, always verify independently using information you already know is real. That one habit works against yesterday's scams, today's scams, and whatever new version of this trick criminals dream up next year. It doesn't depend on spotting a mistake. It depends on you controlling how the conversation happens in the first place. There's one more layer to this that I think is worth spending a moment on, because it can make an enormous difference in how confident you feel every single time your phone buzzes with an unexpected message. It's the idea of building what I like to call a slowdown moment into your daily routine, something you do automatically without even having to think about it whenever a message tries to create urgency around your money. This doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as telling yourself, out loud if you want, whenever a message says your account is locked or your card has been compromised, that you will not click anything or call any number until you've had a cup of coffee, stepped outside for a few minutes, or called a trusted family member just to talk it through. Scammers are relying on you to act within minutes. If you give yourself even 10 or 15 minutes of distance from that first wave of panic, the whole situation often starts to look completely different. The obvious signs of a scam become much easier to notice. It also helps enormously to know a few basic things about how your own bank actually communicates with you. Every institution is a little different, and knowing your bank's normal habits makes it so much easier to spot something abnormal. Many banks will tell you, if you ask them directly, exactly how they contact customers about account issues, whether that's through their secure mobile app, through certified mail, or through a phone call that never asks you to confirm sensitive information over the phone. Some banks even let you set up alerts inside their official app for any account activity. That means you can check for yourself, independently, whether anything unusual has actually happened, without ever needing to trust an outside text or email at all. Taking 15 minutes sometime this week to call your bank and simply ask how they would actually contact you if there were a problem with your account is one of the most valuable phone calls you could make. And it costs you absolutely nothing. I also want to mention that you are not alone in dealing with this, even if it sometimes feels that way when a scary message shows up on your screen while you're home by yourself. Family members, local senior centers, and consumer protection organizations are often more than willing to help you double-check a suspicious message if you're ever unsure. There is no shame whatsoever in forwarding a strange text to your adult child or a trusted friend, and simply asking, does this look real to you? In fact, encouraging that kind of open conversation within families is one of the best defenses against these scams. Because criminals count on isolation and embarrassment to keep their targets from asking for a second opinion. The more comfortable you feel talking about these messages out loud with people you trust, the harder it becomes for any scammer to succeed against you. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you something. And I really do want to hear your answer down in the comments below. Have you or someone you know ever received a message like the one we talked about today, claiming your bank account was locked or compromised? I'd love for you to share what happened. What tipped you off that something wasn't right, or even if it fooled you for a moment before you caught it? Your story, typed out in just a sentence or two down in the comments, could be the exact thing that helps another person watching this video recognize the same trick before it's too late. So go ahead, scroll down, and tell me. Has this happened to you? I read every single comment, and I promise your experience matters more than you might think. And if this video gave you even one piece of information you didn't know before today, do me a favor and share it with someone in your life who could use it. A parent, a spouse, a friend from your community center, or a neighbor down the street. These scams don't just target the person who receives the message. They target entire families because when someone loses their savings, it often affects everyone around them too. Sharing a video like this takes 10 seconds, and it might be the 10 seconds that saves someone thousands of dollars down the road. There's a share button right below this video. I'd be truly grateful if you'd use it today. Before you go, make sure you're subscribed here at Retiree's Guide, because we're going to keep bringing you clear, practical, no-nonsense information to help protect your money, your identity, and your independence during these retirement years. We've got upcoming videos covering other scams that are specifically evolving right now in 2026, including some newer tricks involving fake delivery notifications, fake grandchild emergency calls, and a particularly sneaky version of this exact bank lock scam. It now targets people through voicemail instead of text messages, something we haven't even touched on today. You won't want to miss that one, because it's catching even cautious, careful people completely off guard. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications if you can, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay informed, stay calm, and remember, if a message ever tries to rush you, that rush itself is the biggest warning sign of all.